All right. So I am Gershon Margolis. I'm the founder of Imperial Advisory. We are a fractional CFO firm. We have a whole team of CFOs. Our CFOs generally have 30 to 40 years of experience leading accounting and finance teams. 30 to 40 years of total experience and significant experience leading accounting and finance teams. And we go into businesses. In large businesses, we work for the CEO, for the CFO rather. Large businesses that have CFOs, we work for the CFO, and then smaller businesses will work for the CEO. And in our work as CFOs and business advisors, we touch on many different aspects of the companies. And in our webinar series, we like to bring in experts who talk to some of the different parts of the business that we touch in. Obviously, when we go into a business, sales is of paramount importance. You know, some companies have lots of sales, and that's good. Some companies don't have enough sales. Often growing sales is part of a growth plan, though it could be growing sales, it could be diversifying sales. Sometimes you go into a company that are making lots of money, but they have like one client that makes up 80% of their revenue. They probably need to do something to change how they do sales and who they do sales to whom they sell. Anyway, so sales is very important, and we want to keep our people, our network, our clients educated. And we have, well, at least some people who will be getting this webinar via email after we are done. So our client will be sending it to. Brittany, look out for that email soon in the next day or two. I'm sending it to a client. Anyway, so sales is very important, and we are glad to have Ryan here to talk to us about building a sales team. Ryan is a very important person here on Long Island. He's I think he's from my generation, but he's an up and coming business leader here on Long Island, and I think the newest partner at Sandler.
That is correct.
Sales training, and we are thrilled to have him. So Ryan, take it away.
Sure.
Oh, 1 second, I forgot. I like to welcome the people from our team. So welcome to our guests. We don't have that many on the Zoom here. I think we may have some on LinkedIn, but welcome to Steve, who is not in our team, but welcome. And welcome to Stephanie. Thank you, Brittany. Welcome, Brittany, and thank you for getting this all set up. Welcome, Dean, and welcome, Tom. I think we have somebody else here who I don't see their name, so welcome to you too. And without further ado, take it away, Ryan.
Sure. Gershon, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me here. The opportunity always exists for us to collaborate, which is really nice because, you know, as you said before, you work with teams when they're looking to get to that next level, right? They're looking to understand what is it, the gaps that they're not seeing, and the beauty of blind spots. Also, the worst part about blind spots is we ourselves oftentimes cannot see them, right? We need somebody else to help us to be able to uncover where those gaps are, and then figuring out how do we work together or not to get to the next level. And that's really what we're going to be looking at today is, are there gaps that we may not be seeing? Are there blind spots in our own organizations that we might be missing? And how do we uncover those gaps? So over the next 40-ish minutes, we're going to be going through some of my favorite tools, a few things that we're going to see, and I'm going to share those with you in a minute. But before we get started, I want this to be interactive. So if you have questions, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're live out there, if you're on here on Zoom, please throw them in the chat, throw us some questions. I'd love for you to interact with that. So we are always open to questions throughout the entirety of it. If you are here with us, smiling faces is always great to see. So, you know, have yourself on camera, raise your hand if you want to. Just don't ever feel like you need to slow me down here. Now, just a quick upfront contract here. I am Ryan Reilly from Sandler Legend Development Services. We're located here in Hauppauge, so I'm a local guy doing this out of Long Island. I'm also a local New Yorker, so I tend to talk a little fast sometimes. So if I'm going a little fast and I see one of you with the Heisman up like, whoa, 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 I'm trying to catch that one, please slow me down a bit, right? Ask me a question or say, hey, can you get that one back again so I can really slow down and write that one down? I recommend taking notes, but that's me, not you. So take out of this what you can. My goal is to have everybody learn something today. So thanks again, Gershon, for having me, and thanks for everybody else being here. I'm going to share my screen here and we'll get started. So when I first came to this, the idea was unlocking hidden gems in your business, or really understanding kind of what are the challenges that we're dealing with in our business and how can we overcome them. And there was a few things that I see as being the most important. And that's really the success triangle is the foundation for all of this, right? Understanding what the success triangle is, and I'm going to introduce you to that today. Seeing the new formula for success. Now, we've probably all had some sort of formula for success in our minds over the last few years, but there are some changes. Everybody knows the world is adapting, and we're looking to adapt with it, right? To grow or die, if you will. I'm going to share with you 3 tools or aspects that changed my life. And then I'm going to ask you to really dive deep and figure out, what is your catalyst for change? How are you going to put something into motion? Now, there are 3 things I want you to always be looking at anything I do. 3 things in that lens to look at. Is it something I could be doing more, better, or differently? So more, better, or differently. That's the lens I want you to look at, because 3 things always happen anytime I talk to business owners or sales leaders or entrepreneurs. Is A, they say, oh yeah, I do that all the time. That's my favorite thing to do. I'm really good at that. Awesome. Keep doing it. The second thing is, I heard about that a long time ago, and I just don't do that as much. Thank you for reminding me that maybe I should do that. So it's a little bit of a reminder. And the last thing is, that's brand new to me. Thank you so much. This is going to change my trajectory. So those are the 3 things that are going to happen. And you can see those 3 things through the lens of more, better, or differently. We're always able to learn together. So let's start with an easy question. And this is an interactive part. So if you're live with us, great. If you're here in the room, please add some stuff to the chat, but maybe just a show of hands could even do it. How many of you set goals for today's webinar? I see a lot of shaking heads. No, right? How many of you set goals for today's webinar? And if you're watching this after today, think of it this way. How many of you set goals when you're going to a webinar? How many of you set goals when you're going to a networking group? So I see some hands up there. Sure. Steve, is that a question, or is that just you do that? Okay. Admitting that you do that. Excellent. When I look at anything, I try to compartmentalize in order to understand it. Meaning, if we're not trying to understand what are we solving for, oftentimes we miss the point. We miss the opportunity. If you're not clear on what you're solving for, then our efforts are almost always doomed to fail. Think of it this way. How many of you have set goals in the past and not reached it? Yeah. I can admit that probably something like 60% of the goals I set, I almost hit, right? That leaves me with 40% that I don't hit. Why is that? Why does that happen? And are you really recognizing it when it's happening to you? The biggest thing is, how do you classify or categorize your barriers for success? What is it that got in the way of hitting that goal? And how do you label what's standing in your way? This here is the Sandler success triangle. There is nothing monumental about it. It is simple. It is a 3-step. We look at the behavior, the attitude, and the technique. Let me ask it this way. Would you ever invest $100,000 on something you weren't crystal clear on what the goal was and how it was going to work for you? Absolutely not. You would never invest that. Would you even invest $10,000 in something you weren't clear on how this is going to help you? Not even $10,000, right? Then why do we allow ourselves, or those who represent our company, to invest their time, money, and resources without a solid goal or strategy? Think about this. How many golf outings have you gone to, or your reps gone to, that you didn't really have a goal or a strategy for it? It was just a golf day. How many networking events each week do you go to that seemingly seem, they were okay? I kind of maybe thought I might have talked to somebody that possibly might work with us in the future. That is not a technique thing. It might be a behavior thing. So any investment looks at these three areas. And in Sandler, we concentrate on this because I believe that when you compartmentalize it to what issue am I trying to solve? Is there something I could be doing more of? A behavior. Maybe I'm not going to enough networking events. Maybe I'm not asking enough of the right questions. That's a behavior to be able to do the thing that needs to get to the next level. Maybe it's a mindset. When I'm in a room full of CFOs, CEOs, and business owners, do I have imposter syndrome? Do I have an inferiority syndrome where I'm watching everybody else as if they're more important for me? So therefore my language automatically speaks as if I'm a vendor rather than a consultant, rather than a partner, rather than somebody who's prospective for them to work with rather than work for. Is that a mindset that's holding me back? Or is it technique? Is there something I just simply haven't learned yet? And if I could learn how to do it better, that I would be doing the behaviors, I have the right mindset, but there's just something missing. Maybe that's technique. So step one is always to figure out what bucket am I trying to solve for? If I have any challenge in business, whether it's business development, sales challenges, trying to close a deal, what is it that's in front of us? Is it a behavior problem, an attitude or mindset problem, or a technique? If you're able to identify that, you're 10 steps ahead of everybody else because you're really focusing on the root of the problem rather than something else. So this behavior triangle is going to be something that you'll see could play into anything we talk about today. Here's a really easy one. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down for a strategy. In any investment, it requires a strategy. And I mean time, money, resources when I say investment. Here's the discussion beforehand. What's the goal? Number one, what's the goal of the event, the thing, the event, the behavior? What is the goal of it? What is the pre-work? What has to happen beforehand? What's the post-work? What's going to be my follow-up? How am I going to make this impactful? And the last part, how did we perform against our ideals or against our goals? So what's the goal? What's the pre-work? What's the post-work? How did we perform against our goals? Many of you might be sitting in your chairs right now thinking, I don't know if we do this at all. Some of you might be thinking, I do this all the time and I'm amazing. Kudos to you. Could you be doing it better? Are you doing this with your team? Are you teaching your team to do this on their own? So we talked about unlocking your sales team's potential today. That's one of the major things we want to talk about. If they were doing this on a regular and consistent basis, would you be unlocking their potential? Would you be giving them the tools and the resources in order to be more successful? That's on you to discover that. But strategy starts with a goal. So if you don't have goals for even this webinar, some of you I see writing right now, you might have just jotted down what that goal might be for there. Then you can discover, did you hit that goal or not? And they don't always have to be crazy, guys. A networking event, a simple goal is I'm going to have 2 meaningful conversations. What do I mean by that? Setting a goal for 2 meaningful conversations means I'm not just going to talk about my kids, my surfing, my snowboarding. We're not going to have nice conversations because unless you're a professional visitor, your job out there is to be a professional business development rep, meaning a meaningful conversation has something to do with you, your company, their company, or even better, the competition. That's a meaningful conversation to me. So maybe set a goal next time you go out there and hit it. I hope that's helpful to start us off in the right direction here. Any questions before I jump forward here? Won't see anything in the chat. We're good. Okay. Now, we're going to be talking about some tools, and we know that change is rapidly happening to us faster than we could possibly keep up with. I mean, everybody knows AI is on the forefront of everyone's mind, right? How is it going to disrupt my world? How is it going to change who I am, what I do, how I do it? Although change is happening, we don't need to adapt to all of it, but we do need to make a decision. And I want you to recognize that a decision not to make a decision, that's still a decision, folks. A decision not to make a decision could mean that we're sitting back and losing the opportunity in order to grow. So if you want to grow, if you're looking to grow, grasp the opportunities that are in front of you. Recognize what they can do for you and how they can help. So to start really into the nitty gritty today, let's talk about the change of the formula for sales success. In the past, the old formula was I add more sales reps. As my company grows, I add people. When I add people, they do more. I give them more tools, more places to go, better compensation, better things to do, more activities, more networking events, more equals more sales. That might be true, right? If I add more, I'm going to get more money in my company. However, what we've realized is many times sales could definitely go up this way, but that doesn't mean the company's making more money, because every single one of these things cost more money. So as you add people, as you add more expensive tools, as you add more activities, every golf outing, every networking event, every luncheon, every dinner, every football game, they all cost money. So when we look at the bottom line, does more sales really mean growth or not? Think about a lion pride. And I'm going to go back to what my kids watch on TV right now. A lion pride. If every lion worked on its own, it would burn more calories chasing down its next meal than it would get as a caloric intake from every one of those meals. Chasing a rabbit, chasing the gazelle. Every single time they're burning so much, they would not be gaining. For them, they realized that delegating specific tasks was in the pride and working together to allow individual lions to preserve energy, to preserve time, to preserve caloric outtake and intake in order to get the best possible results. That's what made their least most effort per individual in that pride, but the biggest outcome, the biggest growth for the pride came from delegation. So think about that. When we look at the new sales formula here, efficient reps, not more, but how do you create Ryan 2.0? How do you create yourself and do what 3 people could do? How do you create connected tools? Not just everything, because let's face it, I don't know about you, I was drowning in new tech a couple months ago. It was 10 new things that are going to change your life. Do this, do that. Talk on Slack, talk on Teams, also use Zoom. How about enter your CRM, but also use this CRM and do this note taking and do that email. It was too much. So finding the right connected tools for you, something that actually simplifies and makes your reps more efficient. And then the right activities. So going back to what I talked about earlier, if you're not able to set a goal and really recognize what is it that I would like to get out of this event, this activity, then maybe it's not the right activity for you. Or, and if anybody wants this tool, I'm not talking about it today, but reach out to me. We have tools to understand not only is it the right activity, but am I most comfortable, most effective in it? Because sometimes it might be the right activity for John, but for Jamie, it doesn't work at all because she's not comfortable in it. Therefore, she doesn't effectively nail it. So understanding that every rep has their own formula for success. And what we've seen is when we put this together the right way, more sales equals growth, not just more top line revenue. And growth is an entirety of the company. It's growth as a culture. It's growth as individuals. It's growth in revenue, and it's growth in profit. It is true alignment with your company's growth rather than just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping some things stick. So the new formula comes with some expectations, folks.
Ryan,
Now,
quick question.
sure.
So in moving from the more reps to efficient reps, do you have some type of methodology to walk through that to determine the efficiency of the reps and how to move from A to B?
Sure. So typically it's time over progress, right? How much time, if you can diminish the time it takes to be able to get to the next level. When we're looking at time, it's one of our most precious resources. And Dean, you're actually setting me up for my next slide here. So I'm going to answer a little bit of that now, but go into this here, which is answer this for yourself. Raise your hand if you have a family, kids, grandkids, things like that. Maybe you're running a business. Maybe you also have a side business. How much free time do you actually have in your daily schedule? Yeah, I see a big old zero there. Stephanie, that is 99% of the answers we get. There's always one person that says they have free time, and then the manager stares at them for the rest of the period that we're together. Because nobody has free time anymore. It's just not a thing. There's always something you could be doing more, better, or differently in order to grow if you have that growth mindset. So how do we get back time? How do we save ourselves from this? What we have seen is AI is able to do this for us. Fortunately or unfortunately for you, however you look at this statement, you're either with the time or behind the time. 75% of sales teams will be using AI-powered sales tools by the end of 2025. And I think that number, because we brought it off of some stats from HubSpot and Salesforce a little over a month ago, that number has probably increased by 10% already. And it will continue to do that because the growth model of AI is so much faster than that. So what we need to do is figure out, how do we become efficient reps, and what are the tools that we can use? I plan to clarify some of the tools that I use. They might not be the best for you, but I'll show you why I use them, how I use them. And if you want to make a change, then it's your chance to do that, right? Making a decision for growth. So use cases for selling with AI. Gershon, go ahead.
Question. In what you're talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about sales as opposed to prospecting when you get into the tool conversation.
Help me understand that a little bit better.
So when I think of prospecting, it's about finding the person to sell to, and then sales is the process of selling to them once they've kind of raised their hand and said, I'm ready to be sold to.
Gotcha.
For you, it might be before or after they book a discovery call.
For me, sales is everything that starts from hello, right? Outside of marketing. Marketing could be finding leads, could be having somebody see the shiny object that they like, could be enough to click on a link to come to your website, to click on a link in your email. That's marketing. Sales is everything after that. And when you don't have what's called MQLs, marketing qualified leads, coming across your way, prospecting is sales. Right? If you're doing the research and you're going out there, and that's where we're going to talk a little bit about that, but not too much, that's sometimes why sales fails, because it takes an inordinate amount of time to create the list and find the people and uncover and qualify the people. If you're getting better, whether the behavior has to be more, right? You're going out and doing more prospecting, or your technique, that you're being more efficient with the prospecting you're doing. That's where we have to figure out, what is it that's holding us back from success? So for me, again, prospecting is sales. And unless you have a really strong marketing team that's bringing them on a silver platter to you, which there are small percentage of us that have that, God bless you. The rest of us, we have to go out and we have to hunt. That is sales, in my opinion. And you'll see here with AI use cases, there's seller role simplification. There's generative value messaging, which I think we're all aware of. Generative value messaging is using ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Plod. All of those are areas where we can use ChatGPT, or we can use AI rather, to increase our generative value messaging, to be more efficient with that. Prospecting is something I'm not going to touch on because I don't have time to cover all of the tools and the ways that we can get better at prospecting today. And then solution design and deal closing. So this is at the end of that cycle. Gershon, you mentioned the beginning of the cycle, just identifying new suspects that can become prospects. Solution design and deal closing is, once we have those meetings, how do we push them to the next level? So today I really want to look at seller role simplification. Let's do some quick math. So in 2024, I had an AI assistant in 558 meetings. Just for comparison, that's over 2 years. That's a little less than one meeting per workday. Before I used AI, it took me approximately 30 minutes to take notes, summarize the meeting, update my CRM, create tasks, and send a follow-up email. All of that, about 30 minutes per meeting, 558 times. That's a lot. Thanks to AI, this whole process takes me less than 5 minutes now after every meeting for the entirety to even send the follow-up email. And I think it's actually less now, but I like this math, so I'm going to keep it for now. 558 times minus 25. Now, some of you math whizzes are out there doing the math already. That's 13,950 minutes. That's 235.5 hours saved. To put this into perspective, that's 29 full 8-hour days back in my life. What would your sales reps do with a full another month of selling time in their hands? 29 days back in your life. Would you have more time for prospecting that you claim takes too much time? Would you have more time for chasing some deals? Would you have more time for going after the whales because you didn't have time before? What would you do with 29 more days in your calendar year? Think about that for a minute. That's what this allowed me to do, is to understand that I no longer have to do many of these menial tasks that were taking my time, because I concentrate on something called paid time. And paid time is when I'm building my business. Tom, I see your hand up.
In addition to saving time, the quality of the preparation, the outcome from the summaries probably is improved than what you could do with your note taking.
You know, Tom, the first time I used AI on a coaching session, I went back and looked at the notes and went, wow, I'm really good. I said that. I don't remember saying that at all. It's intuitive, to your point. Sometimes it pulls out what you're trying to say and spits out on the other end the perfect collaboration of what you were trying to say to what it heard. It's amazing. Stephanie, I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, I also think it helps engagement, especially like when you're really trying to pay attention and listen and you're in kind of like an exploratory phase. That's how I find it useful with our app. And then I can go back and read. And even some of the clients said, oh my goodness, I can't believe that you have an app that summarizes everything we spoke about. And it's great. And it just helps with the bullet points and the reminders. Again, it's wonderful.
And you know what's funny about that, Stephanie, is everyone loves it when you have it on there, and they love the response. They love the email within 3 seconds from it with the summary, and then they don't go buy it themselves. Right? Why is that? The next time I see anybody who I'm on a meeting with and my note taker's in there, I expect them to have a note taker ready to go. But we don't see that. That's this level of growth. That's the decision they have to make. And there's still some holdback. With numbers like this, it makes sense. Now, there are tons of different note takers out there. I see there's a Fireflies one on here today. I've seen Novasi out there. I've seen others. For me, it's my personal opinion, I've chosen to go with Fathom. I'm not recommending Fathom over one of the others. It is all your choice. What I am recommending is make your choice. Today is an easy day as any. If you want to try Fathom, hit me up. I will give you a referral code. You'll get the first month for free. And it's a relatively inexpensive opportunity to start doing this. This is an example of some of my notes here. Now, this isn't just for your sales meetings. Some of you may be looking at me saying, well, I don't have my sales meetings on Zoom all the time. I'm in person or I'm on the phone. I get that. And these note takers, specifically Fathom, is working on a phone app that'll start recording your phone calls as well. That's on the horizon. Like I said, growth is happening everywhere. We just need to be kind of paying attention to it. But what if you had this in your internal meetings? Just by opening up your meeting and putting it on Zoom, while it lays in the background, the rest of your team is talking, it's taking notes for you and summarizing your internal meetings, giving you not only an option to look at what did we talk about, but my favorite is action items. Stephanie's going to do XYZ after today's meeting. Coming from here, this person, Marty, is going to be doing that. And Ryan is accountable to do XYZ at the end of this. It drives performance. It also drives accountability. Now, that was like a hot word for 5 years, and now everybody gave up on it. Here's my take on accountability real quick, folks. Accountability is not you telling them what to do. You are not professional babysitters. Accountability is creating professionals with the right tools and efficiencies and effectiveness to be accountable to themselves for performance. That is where real accountability comes. Here is a great place to start. They no longer can complain about their notes getting into the CRM. You can actually map all of this right back to it. So a few options that some note takers have, Fathom I know is one of them. You could create your selling methodology applied in real time, whether it's Sandler, whether it's Dale Carnegie, whether it's MedPick, whatever it is. You can actually have your methodology running at real time, telling you, hey, you could have asked a better question here, training you, helping you to automate your summaries and CRM updates. But not only that, actually stepping in to say, you know, somewhere you could have done better is here. And you know what? Here's a lesson that you should watch in your learning methodology to map back to the problem that you had there. When
What
somebody
tool do you use for that?
we use Fathom. So it automatically attaches to our CRM and our learning platform. So let's say you have a bad call. We all have had bad sales calls before. Not only is it taking notes, but it's giving us suggestions on how we could do better. And then it maps to the learning development platform to say, here's a lesson on your pain development questions. Please watch this lesson over the next hour or two before your next call. So you're reinforcing. Here's the thing, guys. How many of you are actually protecting your investments right now? What I mean is your investment in training and development. It's kind of like language. If you don't use it and reinforce it, it's gone. Utilizing AI to reinforce it is the next level. We have AI coaches that are available now. We have Fathom that tells you where you messed up and what you could do better and can help you to coach there. Think about time again. Imagine the time a manager doesn't have to spend coaching because the AI bot is doing it for them and then driving them to a lesson specifically to deal with their challenges, not theoretically. It is a more productive way to run sales. It is Sales 2.0. Now, this is not a commercial for Fathom or Sandler. What this is a commercial for is start figuring out, how does this work in your world? What does your world need to look like to be able to adapt to these things? This is the next level of sales. AI will not replace salespeople, but people who use AI will replace those who do not. That is a true statement. So let's bring this down to earth. In the registration link that brought you all here, we mentioned unlocking hidden opportunities in your business. And some of the best companies in the world, they can answer a series of simple questions because they've been trained to do so. Not because they're better than us, but because they've been trained to do so and have focused on very key areas in their business. Now, they're not doing something astronomically different. They're simply looking at the data and they're simply looking at their business for, what are we solving? Always ask yourself that question. What are we solving for? So let's examine this for a moment. How well do you really know your business? Where does your overall revenue come from? Now, you don't have to answer these questions. These are rhetorical, but think. They repeat customers. Is it new business from existing clients, recurring revenue, resurrecting lost ones? Is it inactive clients? Is it all new opportunities, cross-selling and upselling? Where do these all sit? What percentage of your revenue are legacy clients that just keep coming back? How much new business do you bring in percentage by month, year over year, or month over month? More importantly, in my humble opinion, how many of your clients are using 100% of your products or services? I'm going to repeat that one. How many of your clients are using 100% of your products or services? If you can answer these questions off the top of your head, the ones that are on the screen now, you're 10 steps ahead of many of your competition because they're not watching this. They're not paying attention to where revenue comes from. The problem is, how do you categorize or classify your business accounts or your clients? What are some ways that we can classify accounts? This is the interactive part, folks.
The prior slide, no?
Okay,
What
right.
do you mean by class?
Classify. So classify. How do you know who your clients are? How do you classify them by location, the size
Okay.
of them?
Big, small.
Right.
Industry.
We have clients. Small, industry specific. Right. how they buy from us. That's how we typically classify. That's the typical way. I want to offer you a way that we have seen have to classify and categorize it that drives revenue. We call this the CARE model. To keep, attain, recapture, and expand. I talked earlier about strategy. Every single rep in your business, every single owner should have something in every one of these boxes. However, what we find is everybody loves to do this one. I'm going to hire a sales trainer to help me get new business. We're going to send 5 more reps out there to help me get new business. We're going to do more networking. We need new. But that's only 1/4 of a revenue generation model that's in front of us here. The beauty of this model is it pays attention that people know, like, and trust us already. That's in your keep, your recapture, and your expand. So what are your strategies in each one of these quadrants? Are you avoiding leaky bucket syndrome in your keep quadrant? Do you know why clients leave you? Are you exceeding or just kind of meeting expectations? It's a question for you. Are you keeping communication open? Do you have Caesar meetings? Those are semi-annual chief entrepreneurial meetings. Are you doing recon meetings? That is a really strong template for how to run a meeting with an active client. Remembering why we work together. How's the experience going so far? What are the changes and opportunities in front of us? And what are the clear next steps for us to move forward? Imagine if you were having these meetings on a regular and consistent basis, rather than that aha moment of, why are they leaving? Why is my client gone? That's what happens. Because, Tom, when's the best time to defuse a bomb?
Before it happens.
Before it goes off, 100%. But most of our business owners are too afraid to have those conversations with our clients, and therefore they're looking somewhere else, not giving us the chance to defuse that bomb and figure it out. That's where changes, challenges, and opportunities happen. We have to ask sometimes. So this goes back to a behavior. If you're not doing it, could you be missing out? Revenue by category, looking at another spot, recapture. You could call this reconnect, reach out, resume, revive, resuscitate, whatever it is. These are your clients who you might have worked with in the past and something changed. Or you've prospected with them in the past and they just weren't with you right now. They just weren't able to work with you. They didn't have the money. Their company wasn't in the right place. Think about yourselves. What has changed over the last 5 to 10 years? Have you gotten better? Have you gotten worse? Have you added revenue? Are you in a different place? Quite possibly that's the same thing with them. Maybe the business that couldn't afford you 10 years ago is in your wheelhouse, your ideal client now. That's a recapture campaign. Understanding people who wanted to work with us or have worked with us in the past and for some reason we lost them. Remind them, why did we begin working together? What is the original pain indicators and the real pain? Did we solve those? Is it still happening? And what has happened since then? Why did we fall off? This recapture campaign is extremely strong because it anticipates what can you do for them now? What will your action step be? How has their world changed? It's really about having the guts to go back to those who said no before. And my last and favorite one I'm going to talk about today, expansion. People who know, like, and trust you are 80% higher probability of closing for new business than a new account. However, we spend an inordinate amount of time. If you go back to the CARE model, I want you to do something. I'd like for you all to go to this CARE model, write it down, quick little square, and write down the percentage of time you're spending in each category. The percentage of time you're spending in each category to keep clients, to attain, to recapture, and expand. Oftentimes when we do this, there's a glaring hole, and sometimes it's the easiest one, expansion. 80% higher probability to close than new ones. However, 70% of businesses admit to having a very weak or non-existent strategy in this quadrant. We're simply not tapping into an unsourced resource. And what are the ways that you've seen expansion be successful? right? We have to be having those conversations internally. Expansion is putting a litmus test out there. Do you have a unique selling proposition? Are there new offerings? If those recon meetings are happening, then you're uncovering expansions here. What is it that we could be doing more of? However, what I have found is visual representation works best for me. So if I want these things to happen, I want to have engagement and awareness, I want this further conversation and action steps, what I've found is visualizing that 100% of the client, meaning I love this matrix. This is the product depth matrix, and it is the third and final tool, or second tool rather, I'm giving to you today. We looked at the behavior triangle. We looked at the Fathom note taker. We looked at the care model, and now we're looking at the product depth matrix. On the top line, you write down all the products or services that you can offer. On the side, on the left side column, the bottom column, you write down your actual active clients. And then you go through with this algorithm. Okay means they're already providing the service to our client, they're already getting it. No means we know for absolute sure that they are not going to buy this from us. They never will, never can, can't do it. Question mark means we have a conversation to have. And money symbol means there's definitely an opportunity here. We just haven't attached it yet. Now, what I can do in any quarterly meeting, in any weekly meeting, is I can have every rep bring this up, and I have a snapshot. Because if I count real quickly, Stephanie, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. How many green symbols do you see on this? Green money symbols. Real quick count, give or take.
86, 9, 12, 15.
Uncovering hidden opportunities. If you're not
Oh.
looking at it on a daily and regular basis, that's right, Stephanie. There's like 12 or 15 opportunities with my active clients right now that I can see in a snapshot. And now I can watch, to Dean's point much earlier, how do I figure out if they're really working effectively? As I see this list turning to OKs regularly and consistently, and no more question marks, no more no's, no more opportunities that we're not attacking, I know we're working efficiently and effectively. Because efficiency doesn't have to look like running around town trying to get new people in the door. Sometimes it's paying attention to the money that's already in your pocket and how to expand that. This product debt matrix is something I'm happy to share with you. Please reach out to me directly at any point, and you can have this tool or any other tools. I'm happy to have a conversation. The last thing I'll do today before we go to any questions or anything, if you don't know your gaps, you will never solve them. Blind spots are our blind spots. The last person to tell me that they know all their blind spots, they didn't make it. You can't know your blind spots. That's why they're blind spots. So if you feel propelled to do this, go ahead and take this free 30-minute strategy session from me. This is a gap analysis. If you click on the QR code at any point, or I can send it in the email, we'll be sending it in the follow-up email here. It'll take you somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes to take the survey, and it'll help you identify sales performance gaps, either with yourself or with your team. Feel free to steal this gap analysis and give it to your entire team. The funnest part is seeing what other people are saying in your company, understanding that your reps might see different gaps than you do as the manager. The first step is uncovering them. So folks, today we talked about a few different things, and I hope some of this was helpful. The biggest thing is you have a decision to make. Are you going to choose growth or choose mediocrity? That's your only decision to make today. So we spent about 42 minutes together today. I know there might be some questions. Gershon, again, I appreciate you giving me the stage for a bit. Any questions, comments, or anything else you guys need here?
I got a lot to think about. So that I enjoy.
Same, lot to think about here, and a lot of things I think I know Gershon and I and the team have been talking about for a long time, and trying to drive the top line. So a lot of different ways to think about it now.
Yeah,
Sure.
but one of our pillars, Dean, is retention. So
Yep.
at least in theory, we're cognizant of this. The question is,
Yep.
how do we implement some of these tools? And
It's funny, retention oftentimes is the top number one thing that people talk about. And when it breaks down to it, there's one thing for retention: communication. And oftentimes we're chasing new and we forget about the old, and the old just walks out the back door. So look at it from a communication standpoint. What does communication really look, feel, smell like in your business with your clients? If somebody calls you and the only thing they want to talk about is selling you something or issues you have, do you really have a relationship with them? Do you enjoy that phone call? 90% of communication between clients and their consultants, their advisors, their vendors are for sales or for issues. If you can change that dynamic and add a little bit of, I just want to talk to you and hang out with you, you might have a much stronger relationship for retention. Just a little something there.
So it's actually an interesting thing you bring up, Ryan. We've had this conversation internally, and I don't know if I have both sides represented on this call, but there are those on our team who have said that either their impression of from when they were CFO or just observing how we communicate with clients, that we have people dedicated to going and building these relationships. And there are those on our team who've given pushback that, like, we don't need a professional, a professional schmoozer, a professional chatter to be part of this whole thing. Like, we're doing good work, leave us alone. Or when I was a CFO, this kind of thing was annoying to me. I don't want people just coming and, shooting the breeze with me. I'm busy. So I'm curious to hear your take.
Tom, did you want to add something to that?
Well, I think shooting the breeze is one thing, but having a customer relationship manager, like we've introduced, is doing the same thing, but at a more professional level.
I agree, and this all comes down to communication again. If you're familiar with DISC styles, the different types of personality styles that are out there, you are correct. There are certain styles and personalities that if you're shooting the breeze, you're wasting their time. They see you as something less. However, there's other personalities that if you're not doing that, they see you as off-putting, as you're just not nice enough to work with them. So it's about understanding who your buyer is. The other thing is understanding your hierarchy. And what I mean by that is, if the name of your company is Imperial Advisors, right? An advisor to me is different because there's the hierarchy, right? A salesman, they're at the bottom, right? They just do anything to get it done. A vendor is like a vending machine. You're just the person who I'm going to say, I want Q7. You're going to put the money in. I'm going to get an order. That's a vendor, right? There's no real relationship there. Then there's the relationship manager above the vendor. There's someone who is there, but there's some sort of disingenuine because they know that the only reason the relationship exists is for a sale. Above that is consultant. Now, a consultant is somebody who you go to who helps you to understand the bigger picture. And many times that's the conversations we're having. It's not what are the challenges with me or my company. It's what are the challenges you see in your business right now? What is the opportunities you see in your market? Talk to me about where you've come from and where you're trying to go. Understanding that you're aligning your goals with their goals, or at least that you understand where the company's trying to get to, and you might be able to consult on how to help them get there, whether through you or through somebody else, one of your connections. Then there's advisory. Advisory is they don't make a move without calling you first. Hey, Gershon, I have something I'm thinking about. What do I do? How do I do this? Help me to do that. That's the hierarchy we create. So if you're going to be an advisor or a consultant, it's not conversations about how do I help you? How do we help you? How do you give me more money? It's what do we really see in the world? Let's have a human to human, adult to adult conversation. What are you struggling with? What are our opportunities? How are we getting better as professionals together? Those are the real relationships you're going to grow. Steve, it looked like you had a comment there.
No, I agree with what you just said. And I'm, thinking about us at Compel and thinking about the relationships I've had and enjoyed. And, some do think of me as an advisor and others think of me more as a sounding board. So I thought Great job.
I once had
Great.
a client call me their sales counselor, and I thought, I'm in, man. Lay down on the couch. Let's do this. Tell me all your problems, and let's just ask the right questions. Right? 2 ears, 1 mouth. So again, it all breaks down to communication. I appreciate Steve. I appreciate Gershon. Let me hear. Are there any other questions? I didn't see anything else in the chat. Anything else you want to cover, Gershon?
Yeah, when do we get the webinar on prospecting?
That's up to you, man. I think everyone's going to be looking at, how do I hit Q1 running? The answer is start running now.
Yeah.
So whenever you're ready, let's figure that out.
Ryan, real informative. Appreciate the time.
Yeah,
Thank you very
absolutely,
much.
guys. Thank you so much.
Um,
Take the opportunity to make some change today, folks. It's on you. Decision not to make a decision, still a decision.
all right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ryan. Thank
Peace
you,
out.
everyone, for joining us. And have an amazing day, amazing rest of the week.
Cheers.
What?
All right.
Take care.
Bye.